Hello and welcome to this week's Tharstern Techchat talk. I'm pleased to be joined by our solution specialist Phil Dodge to help me answer one of the questions that I got asked by a wide format point of sale printer actually, Phil, which was what's the best way you would suggest to estimate for installation services on a project? How would you? I know there's probably quite a few different ways that we can do that in the Tharstern system, but how would you best suggest it?
That's a very good question, actually, Ross. There's a new option that you can use in Tharstern where you can actually break these services down because you might want it to be itemized, or for that matter, you might just want to keep an internal itemization of the various services, be they contractors, etc., that you're actually going to have, so that you can make sure that you bill for all the additional services that invariably come up. And you can also link this, if you wanted to a production scheduling board, so that you could then manage obviously those particular resources in terms of a project.
All right, cool. Can we have a look? Can you show us?
Absolutely. So just bear with me 2 seconds, and what I'll do is I will share my screen, and we'll basically be able to go from there.
Cool.
So just do a quick share. Wait for that to do the trick. And we should have.
Yep, we can see it now.
And I'm just inside the Tharstern system, and as we can see, in fact, I'll just close this down so you can see this here. Main ribbon bar here, and we can go to the estimating system in order to actually raise our estimate. So it could actually be linked basically an estimate template, or you could have basically the decision tree point of sale, and there could actually be in here a link to basically the installation services. But I'm going to do it from scratch. So I just click on the new button. Let's call it installation. I like to be a bit literal here, and we'll do it against the designated customer. So in this case, we'll go for AstraZeneca. We could see it's like some sort of pharmaceutical installation, for example, installation of graphics panels past the accounts areas there. And then I'm just going to go and utilize a classification called point of sale in our demonstration system. And down here, we have actually got an installation services, which we can then click on the OK button. Notice there are no quantities here. And that's not a problem for us, because what we actually get next is common processes and materials. So it could be that you've got obviously studio services, and you can tick these respective elements on. You can actually come in and change the actual quantities, and even change the prices. And if you wanted to, relabel these elements as well, or you could have multiple pull down options. So in this particular case, I'm not going to bother with that. You'll notice that we can also add stock, add client supplied stock, and even link to estimates if we wish to do so. But in this case, we go directly to the installation itself. And we've got a little tab here, and I could call it install site 1. We can specify a quantity if we wanted to, fill in these references, but more importantly, what we can do is hit the processes button, and this brings up these black bold pieces of type with a variety of processes which you can define in your setup. So against the installation services, this might be an on-site survey, for example, and we might have different types of survey that we can actually choose from. We can even, as I said before, come in and actually rename it because your customer might want it described in a certain specific way. And we can specify how many and what their financial value is. And this could be profiled against the customer itself, so that we can always get the same contractually agreed pricing structure, or we can actually modify it. So in this particular case, for some reason, I'm going to increase that price, and it identifies that it's a modified price. We also have the ability, obviously, to do the installation itself, or whatever other service it's actually going to be on a day or an hourly rate, for instance. And below that, we've got these personal and subsistent operations. And again, you can define these particular categories and then the associated sub-classifications. And you'll notice I've got these all ticked on because from an installation perspective, I'm using an install team, but you'll notice there's different teams involved in here. So we're going to do it on an hourly rate, and I'm going to say there's 10 hours at that particular hourly rate to give us our financial value. So you're probably saying, well, hang on a second, what about the other contractors? Well, we have options. We can, if it's an internal team, we can just do an add, and we can actually add basically from the personnel the different types of internal personnel that we're going to use or contractors. So this is an installation. We might be looking at basically a heights team, and we can even relabel this if we needed to do so. And this creates basically another line entry in here where we can actually put the various hourly rate, but by default, it brings in that profiled hourly rate to give us our value.
All right.
Then we've got contractor rates. So again, we could actually be looking at other contractors being involved. So they could be electrical team contractors. So we can actually specify, again, if it's a day rate or an hourly rate. Now, because this is a purchase, we can see that there's no financial value in here because this is unfortunately going to be an expenditure to us, but we still get our value coming into play. So you see, it's kind of cool, Ross, because we can start to add and build this up. And of course, there could be accommodation aspects as well. And we could even actually pre-profile types of accommodation because, again, you might want to profile that. And again,
I'm glad you selected the holiday in there as well. That's my preference.
Exactly. Get those points in there and everything. And we also have the ability to come in here and we can even change the actual rate as well because, again, it's a purchase element. And, of course, there are subsistence out-of-pocket expenses. We can come in here and we can actually have subsistent costs. And we can decide to actually put in just a random value, which, of course, may actually be the case in some cases. So we could build that list up of all the internal team members and the external contractors we require for this project. But, of course,
it's very comprehensive, isn't it, Phil? The kind of all the different options you can include in there.
Absolutely. And it's just about being creative about the types of products and services on the list. And bear in mind, and this is the key part, to actually present this list to the customer, although you could, but it's just it could be a tick list effectively internally. But of course, the other aspects that we've got here are basically travel and specialist equipment. So again, we've got facilities in here to actually have different types of vehicle as well. Again, it could be an expense if we're hiring this, and of course, there's the issue with mileage as well. So we could put the number of miles, which has actually got a per unit value, another expense, and then there could be specialist equipment, which is fairly common. You know, we could be looking at forklifts, and again, I can add more specialist equipment to this.
And I imagine that flexibility there of being able to add things because every job is going to be different, and project might require different types of things. So that's going to be really helpful.
Absolutely, because of course, the other things that we might be looking in here is basically some sort of specialist equipment. We could even be relabeling this LCD panel, for example. And that might be a specialist equipment generic category, and we can actually put in whatever the charge is. And we have actually completed our elements. We click OK. We've got all our details in there. We can save it, and we have got our financial values accordingly. In addition to that, we can put a technical spec, and of course, the headings that you can actually have on this can be as brief as you want or as extensive, and you can even attach digital assets to this. And once you've saved the estimate, you can of course print it out, email it, so that you've actually got those details that you can send to the customer, and it could just be a total price or a line-by-line listing price.
A complete breakdown of everything that's in there, and then just a total or a line-by-line price. I guess it's just however you want to present it, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
Cool. Well, that was really good. So, and I think you've definitely answered that question there, Phil. So thank you very much for your help with that. So hope you, if you've watched this, hope you found this helpful. And if you have any further questions about it, then meet us in the comments below. And if you have any questions that you'd like us to answer in the Tharstern Tech Chat, then again, drop it in the comments or get in touch. We'd be happy to help. Thanks a lot, Phil, and thanks for watching today. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.